Hello everyone and welcome to Advangelists. In this video, we are going to be walking over the advertiser platform that Advangelists has to offer. In the subsequent videos, we'll walk through the bidder platform and the publisher platform as well. The advertiser platform's main goal is to be utilized to run your own direct campaigns or tag-based campaigns. Here we go. As soon as you log into your account, you will see all your campaigns in one single place, denoted by the color green if they're active, denoted by the color yellow if you are in pause state, and denoted by the color pink if the campaign has been created but it's in a pending approval state. There is a filtration mechanism available up above here for you to zone in on your advertisers, your packages, if any, and also search by the name of a campaign if required. You can order this list by ID, the number in which it was created. You can order it in alphabetical order. You can also order it by whether a campaign is under-delivered, standard-delivered, or over-delivered. You can do the reverse order as well. And you can see if a pacing is off or on for a particular campaign while you are playing around with that system. All you have to do at the end of the day is click something and it auto sorts itself. So we're going to stick with the regular order by ID system while we're giving this demo. If you want to look at your paused campaigns, you will go into this menu, click paused, remove the active and approval pending, hit apply to look at anything that has been paused state. Let's go back to active and take it forward from there. Now, before we go into the creation of a campaign, structure of a campaign and how it works, I want to walk you through the overall structure that we support as part of the Advangelists Advertiser platform. So the Advangelists Advertiser platform has 5 levels in which you create and maintain your advertising spend. It all starts with an account, which is denoted by your name right here. And an account can have multiple advertisers under it. Now let's go into the advertiser section to check that out. You will create a new advertiser under your account. And that advertiser essentially gives you access to what you want to do in terms of reporting, in terms of campaign management, and details surrounding that. So you'll enter your name, you'll enter your email, you'll enter here whether you want reports on a day-to-day basis. You will enter your campaign manager name, trafficker, client success manager. This is more of a data pool for you to go back to who's responsible for what advertiser. And in case you want logs for that advertiser, you will click on advertiser logs and the system will automatically start generating logs and delivering it to you on a S3 data dump or an FTP data dump basis. The next section is user caps. Now, you might come across a situation where an advertiser comes to you and says, hey, I am Ford, I have 5 cars. And what I really need to do is I need to show ads about these 5 cars to people, but I want to make sure that at no point in time someone sees a Ford ad more than 10 times during a day. So this is an advertiser level user cap where you can say, hey, you know what, do not show more than 10 ads to the same user within a 24-day period. And if someone has clicked more than 2 times in a 24-day period, do not show him ads as well. Once you hit save, it takes you to your campaign page where you're able to create and manage your campaigns. Now let's put a little pin in it and we'll come back to creation and maintenance of a campaign. But before that, I do want to talk about the active campaigns page where you're able to see what's going on with your current campaigns. So any advertising spend that you do comes essentially here in this green dashboard and is able to give you details around what's going on, essentially. So let's start from right to left, and I will walk you through the different details as well as what these icons mean. The right icon can be either white in color, red in color, or yellow in color. If you hover over it, it will say one of three things: standard delivery, under delivery, or over delivery. And it will also tell you as a quick snapshot what that means. So this campaign is delivering on schedule, that's why standard delivery. On the other hand, this campaign is delivering under by 48%. So again, if you hover over it, it will tell you that it's under delivery by 48%. None of the campaigns has been over delivered, so I can't show you that. But in case it's over delivered, it will be a yellow icon with an upward arrow that says, hey, this campaign is being over delivered, and you can take necessary measures to prevent it in the future. The second icon over here tells you how much of your campaign goals have been achieved. So in this case, 77% of the campaign has been delivered, 23% of the campaign remains to be delivered over the next few days. Because we're taking broad metrics, I'm just going to take this campaign as an example of reporting today. So once you expand on a particular campaign using these little plus icons, it takes you into a detailed view. And this detailed view is very important to understand because it starts at a very macro level of giving you insights and information into reporting, and then we'll dig deeper into how you can understand the different metrics of the campaign and how it works behind the scenes. So this gives you very basic metrics to begin with. It tells you how many impressions have been delivered so far. It's an hour-wise data. How many clicks have been delivered? What's your CTR? And the amount of money that you have spent so far today. You can pull data for any date range. I'm just going to pull data for this month. And it does those dynamic calculations and gets you back the data in a graphical format to begin with. Now, as you can see, there's a consistency of delivering 20,000 impressions per day. That's what has been the goal, and that's what has been delivered. You can also map other entities based on what's going on. So if you wanted to measure clicks, you could measure clicks against this particular impression rate. So I'm going to remove the impressions from here and look at clicks and CTR percentages. And that way I can see how my CTR has been. So it's been fairly consistent over the period of this month, in the range of 0.4 to 0.39%. For the more traditionalist in you, you can look at this data in an Excel file format as well. And you'll go here to look at the data in an Excel file format where it's sorted out by date. If it's not, you can sort it out by date. And it gives you impressions, clicks, conversions, completes. If there are any video completes, this is not a video campaign, so completes are 0. CTRs, CPMs, the spend, and the data cost, if any. All of this data can be exported out as CSVs, Excels, PDFs, or printouts. It can also be copied and you can paste it in an Excel yourself. The last icon here is fairly important, where it gives you a quick snapshot of how the campaign is set up. Now, I will click on it, but I will not walk you through it. Let me come back to this after I walk you through how campaigns are created in the first place. So we'll go to Manage Campaigns. I took the liberty of opening it in a new tab already. And we'll look at this campaign on how it's set up to give you a full-fledged overview of the campaign setup protocol and how we work towards achieving the goals that need to be achieved. There is a consistency in the icons in the platform. So the same icons that you see over here are the same icons that you see in a campaign creation mode as well, where you can play or pause a campaign if you needed to. You can add an additional creative directly from this menu. You can edit a current creative from this menu. You can go to the analytics dashboard, which we will walk through in just a second. Wrap-up reports, deletion, and copy. So as I was talking about earlier, there is a hierarchy involved. Every campaign that is created in the platform comes under an advertiser. Anything that starts with a star is a mandatory element to be selected when you're creating a campaign. So in this case, we have selected the advertiser, and then you name the campaign. This is completely dependent on you, the nomenclature that you follow. Please make sure that it's a unified nomenclature that you follow towards creating your campaign, so that's easy to read and easy to understand. And then you enter the date range of the campaign. You can either enter it manually in the format seen here, or you can select the date picker, and in here you can select both the date as well as the time when you're running the campaign. So from and to duration. In cases where you do not have a due date and the campaign is indefinite, you can also say run indefinitely. And in this case, it will change the goals from lifetime goals to daily goals. Right here, you see lifetime impressions. If I say run indefinitely, it changes it to daily impressions. And then I have to manually go and stop the campaign once it has achieved its goals. There are three buying models: CPM, cost per mile, cost per thousand impressions; CPC, which is cost per click; and CPCV, cost per completed video view. As you select these elements, the UI changes to support it. As an example, when I say CPM, it asks me for a CPM and it asks me for a mandatory lifetime impression goal. If I select CPC, it'll ask me for what the CPC is, and it will not ask me for impressions, but it'll ask me for the number of clicks I want. Same thing in CPCV, it will ask me for lifetime video completes instead of impressions that need to be done. You can buy in any currency. We support around 60, 70 currencies all across the world. The next section is live. And live essentially lets you track for how long an ad is visible on the user's screen after it has been delivered. Um, Live is in a beta stage and it's complimentary right now. We will make it paid eventually in Q3. But for now, you can select live to get data on how long does a publisher enable the ad to be viewed by the user. Future retargeting, a very important feature where you're able to select this and say, hey, save data for the future because I might come back and I might want to retarget users who either clicked, saw, or engaged with my creatives and my campaign. When you do come back, you have multiple kinds of retargeting options. You can retarget by views, you can retarget by clicks, or you can retarget by video completes in case you wanted to. You can also anti-target, where you say, I want to target everyone who did not click, as an example. And once you do select this, you have to select what campaigns you have saved the data for and select it from the list to retarget users from that particular campaign. Um, the fun section about this is that you can combine more than one campaign that you have ran in the past to retarget users that have engaged with more than one creative, more than one campaign, and the likes of such. After you go through this basic setup details section, you're taken to a package section. Now, a package in all its simplicity is just like a Gmail label, mostly used for reporting purposes, and it assigns a meta tag to your campaign. So if you have multiple account managers, as an example, in your company, and you want to quickly pull report by the account manager name, you will create a package under that account manager and assign that package essentially to the campaigns that are being created. Next, we get into the goals section, which is really important to define what you want to do. So in this case, this is a CPM campaign, and the lifetime impression goal is 3,798,398. By default, the system is smart enough to figure out when there is more inventory and when there is less inventory. As an example, you can usually deliver more impressions on the weekends as opposed to weekdays. You can deliver more impressions on holidays and stuff like that. So the system will pace accordingly. But that being said, if you really want a hard day limit and you want to say, hey, I want to deliver a fixed number of impressions every day, you can click on hard daily limits and it will automatically do the calculation for you and tell you that if you enable that, I will deliver 20,214 impressions per day to achieve the goals that are required. Same thing with clicks. Pacing. Now, I really want to talk to you about pacing and spend a few minutes here. Now, the way that the Advangelists system has been architected is that pacing is automated, and we make sure that when you deliver a campaign, it is paced every minute, spaced every hour, paced every day to achieve the best result possible. That being said, sometimes you might have a requirement where you want to deliver it as soon as possible. Please be very, very careful when selecting this because in this scenario, If it's a broad targeting and there's a lot of inventory available, the campaign will deliver in a mere minutes instead of days or hours. User caps. Essentially the same section that you saw on the advertiser level, we also give it on the campaign level. And here you're able to say, under one advertiser, I have 5 campaigns. Let's take similar example, Ford. And I also want to make sure that I only show people 2 ads per car per day for my campaign. And this helps you generate those user caps. You can do user caps on impressions, you can do them on wins, you can do them on clicks, you can also do them on conversions, if any, and you can also do them in video completes, if any. The next section is classification, where you enter the domain, the URL of the advertiser you're advertising about. Now the system is pretty smart, where it will be able to automatically understand what an advertiser is about. As an example, if I had to enter Amazon over here, it would tell me that it is a shopping application. In case you're entering something new and you're not, the system is not aware of what it is, example, my name, you can manually go in and select from a list. It's an autocomplete list, and here you're able to tell people what the ad is about. So I'm going to go back to what this was, and the system understood that it is an education related ad because it ends in a .edu. The next section is day parting. Here you're able to tell and design your strategy around what hours of the day and what days your advertisers are more crucial for you. So if you have an ad about education and you're targeting mostly universities, you don't want to display an ad on the weekends, as an example. Same thing, if you have an ad that requires the attention of office goers, you want to target them in during office hours, essentially, or during their commute hours. Please note that the days of the week work in UTC, but the hours of the day work in user time zone, because you might have a campaign that's across the US and we need to cater to all 3 time zones. The next section is audience targeting. As you can see, this is all disabled right now, primarily because the CPM of this campaign is really low. So I'm going to go ahead and edit it just so that I can demo it to you. And here we are able to essentially see what's going on behind the scenes and look at details that we need to cater to. So in this scenario, you will see all the segments that have been enabled for your particular client. The way we work is we enable segments transparently from the data providers that we have, and these are pass-through costs that you can pass along. So when you come in and you say, hey, I'm delivering this ad and I want to deliver it to people who have an income level of this, are males and are movie lovers, it creates a segment for you as a OR group, which means that it will target people who have either an income in this range, or are males, or are movie lovers. You can change the dynamics of it and create an AND group as well by clicking this plus icon and creating an AND group. You say, I want to target people who have an income of this and are males, and I also want to target people, duplicate this, who are males, just for the sake of conversation. I'll delete this. So if you look at the query, it basically creates that I'm targeting either males or males in this income range. You can do anti-targeting as well, basically where you're saying, I want to target people who are males in this age range or people who are not males. So it creates that targeting group for you as well. And the list goes on and on and on. The next section here is contextual targeting. And in contextual targeting, we target on what is someone doing right now in the moment based on where they are physically and what they're doing on their mobile devices, desktop devices, connected TV devices. So in this case, if you're selecting the real-time context as casino, this could mean one of 2 things. Either the user is right now physically present inside a casino, or he's playing a casino-based game on their digital devices. One quick tip here is that all the information that I'm talking about in this video is available in the tooltip section. So if you click on the little information icon seen everywhere, you can read about it and talk about it. After you're done with contextual targeting, here we enter into the main targeting section, which starts at a very broad level and goes down into micro targeting as deep as you want it to be. It starts again from a very top view where you say, hey, my campaign is for the United States, broader picture. And as soon as you select the country, a lot of these options become enabled, where you can say, I want to target or anti-target a particular carrier. As an example, I want to target people who are on Sprint or Verizon or AT&T, or vice versa, for that matter. Everything is an autocomplete list, so there is hardly any room for user error. It will autocomplete it. And if you just enter text in these boxes, it will throw out an error. You can blacklist, whitelist publishers. You can blacklist, whitelist bundle IDs. So in this case, they have blacklisted a bunch of bundle IDs. Looks like they do not want to show their ads on Grindr, on Romeo, on BitTorrents, on the Chive, and apps like that. You can work with the make and model of the device, where you say, I only really want to work with Apple for some reason. And as soon as you start entering it, again, it's an autocomplete list. So you click that, and then the model becomes available where you're able to say, I want to target iPhones or iPads or whatevers for that matter. Category. You can pick and choose the category of the mobile application, the CTV application, or the desktop mobile web inventory that you want to target. So you say, okay, great, run my ad only on apps that are related to games, for that matter. Supply side deal ID, in case you have a contact at one of the SSPs that we're connected to and you want to get their inventory on a private marketplace channel, you will use supply side deal IDs. IFA groups lets you upload a list of device IDs in a very simple format, which is device IDs, next line, device ID, next line, and lets you specifically target those device IDs. Polygon groups lets you upload a bunch of polygons to be targeted on a basis. IP address group is the same as IFA groups, where you can upload a list of list of IP addresses to be targeted on desktop and mobile environments. Now, we as a company have a device graph capability, so when you do upload IDFAs, we can target the corresponding mobile web and desktop inventory and vice versa. We also have a section called inventory keywords, where you can specifically search for specific inventory. So if you enter games here, it'll go and specifically extract everything that is related to games, whether it's the meta tag or a metadata around an application, or it's the actual content within a mobile website or a desktop website. You can go into granular device type targeting, where you say, hey, I want to target phones, tablets, mobile tablets, connected TVs, personal computers, connected devices. Operating system targeting, operating system version targeting, where you can say, I want to target the older versions or the newer versions for that matter. Supply type, which is in-app or mobile web. Target IDFA, whether you want to target people with an IDFA or without an IDFA, or both for that matter. Gender targeting, what connection are they on? How are they holding their phone in an orientation mode? Target API, in case you have MRAID-based ads, you will click MRAID. In case you have VPAID-based ads, you will choose VPAID. Age, app language, what's the language of their device? Right now we support Arabic, English, French, and Hispanic. This is always extendable. Location data, where is the location data being derived from? Whether it's from GPS coordinates, IP addresses, or both. In case you work with a viewability vendor like in Moat or an IAS, you will only run your ads on Moat supported apps and IAS supported apps. And the next section is location targeting. Again, I would take a little bit of time going through this section. So in this case, you are able to target states in case you wanted to, DMAs, US only, zip codes. And as you choose anything, a UI becomes available. So I can be like, I only want to target the state of New York for that matter, or a particular DMA. And then you have freeform targeting, which is your geocode targeting. So you can draw on top of a map and you say, hey, I want to target a particular radius, like this. Or I want to target a polygon where I freeform draw something and want to target a particular subsection. You can upload a list of lat long devices that you have. And this is our brilliant feature where If you say, hey, my advertiser is Walmart and I really want to target all Walmart stores across a certain city, state, DMA, postal code, address, or for that matter, the whole of the country, you just select Walmart, hit go, and the system is smart enough to pull all that data and display it on top of a map for you to visualize and dig into. So apparently a lot of Walmarts here on the East Coast, and I can go ahead and filter it. I'm not going to, but I will just pick one randomly to see how it is. So as you can see, these are very, very specific polygons that encapsulate the whole store, and it not only helps you target users who are currently within a Walmart, it extends to our attribution product where after the campaign you can request a cost per visitation report from us and ask us, hey, how many people who saw my campaign actually ended up in the Walmart store. As soon as you hit save, it takes you to the creative page. So I'm not going to hit save, and let me go to the creative page manually, and it will pre-select the campaign that you've been working in. So let's look at one creative for you to get an overview of how it works. I'm going to start from the bottom up instead of the top down. So anything that you do from the audience targeting level, contextual targeting to the very bottom is all inherited from the campaign itself. It's a parent-child relationship. You can override any of it. As an example, this campaign has been overridden to have a lat long associated with it. So this particular creative gets served in this lat long in a 2-mile radius. And then up above, you have everything you need to traffic your campaign. This has been uploaded as an image banner. We support images, we support JavaScripts, we support VPaid, VAST, assets, click to call, click to drive, any ad that comes from the likes of Celtra, Flash Talking, Just Add, any of these platforms, and can be entered, and the UI behaves accordingly. So in this case, the image has been created and the image has been uploaded. As a 32050, it has no tracking URLs. You're welcome to add any amount of tracking URLs you want, as well as custom scripts. And it goes to this particular click URL where it's tracking its details. You can override the impressions and goals from your campaign, but if you don't do it, then it follows the campaign goals. After you're done creating, it gives you this icon, which is banner preview, copy to clipboard. If you click on it, you can actually play around with your campaign and make sure that it works end to end. You can also send it to your client to have them have a look. So this is how this ad looks like. Make their doctors your doctor. It's an animated image, and if you click on it, it goes to nep.advangelists.com and further redirects to health.uconn.edu and takes you to the place that you need it to go. Once you hit save, you come back to the active campaigns page where you hit play on your campaign, which was this one. It'll by default come in a pause state. You hit play and the campaign starts running within 20 to 30 minutes after it goes through an automated creative approval process internally to ensure that everything is aligned. Amazing. Let's divert our attention now towards more reporting and features that help you understand how it all works behind the scene. Now, one of the major reasons to dig into this kind of a reporting metrics is we did not want to throw around words like machine learning and artificial intelligence into the mix, but we wanted to make sure that anything and everything that requires an AI to do something is visible, is transparent, and is available to you on a day-to-day basis. So clicking the campaign, as we saw earlier, it loads data for the day and you're able to see impressions that are going on by the hour. Now, a very important feature here, we call it Ad Oracle because it has the ability to look into the future, is the availability. When you do create a campaign with your location targeting and audience targeting and contextual targeting, you need to know that, hey, would I be able to deliver my campaign? And the answer in this case is Ad Oracle, because here it says that, great, I understand that your goal is 20,000 impressions. Let's pull whole day data as an example. I understand that your goal is 20,000 impressions, but what I oh, my bad. What I as a system is saying is that um, I will tell you availability of the maximum number of impressions you could have done in case you were curious. And it shows it here in availability. So overall, the system could have done 4.2 million impressions if there was a need to. You can also dig deeper into it and hit available to understand what is the availability per hour for me to deliver those goals. Coming back to reporting after you have understood availability, um, is it really depends on the campaign. Now, this campaign, as you saw, had geolocations associated with it, and every single banner under this campaign has multiple geolocations associated with it. So you will go into this region-wise report over here to understand what's going on from a map perspective, because all these radiuses have been defined on top of a map, individually linked to a 2-mile radius. So as you can see here, it maps everything on top of a map, and you can hover over it to understand what's going on. So I have only pulled data for one day, but you can pull data for any amount of time to understand what goes on in every region. Again, all of it is exportable so that you can see what lat longs have been defined, where it's going, how is it going, and stuff like that. You can also switch to terrain view in case you wanted to, or a satellite view with labels in case you wanted to get that out of the way. There's also an expand icon over here where you can go full screen to understand what's going on. Once you have looked at this data, this is where it starts getting fun. The analytics dashboard and the wrap-up reports. So great, you looked at some of the data and you did 20,000 impressions. But what does that mean? What does it translate to? How did the AI actually deliver it? That's where you get into the analytics dashboard. I took the liberty of pre-opening it and pulling data from the 6th to the 12th. And here it's telling you what the system is doing and how it's behaving. So base metrics, spend $120. The system did 1.8 million bids for you, 1.24 were ignored. You can also look at why they were ignored. I can go into ignored bids and understand what was going on behind the scenes. So they were ignored because either they were blocked or there was a pacing cache error, mostly because they were less than float, because we were trying to extract the maximum benefit out of it, given that the campaign is running only at 90 cents. Let's go back to impressions over here to understand further details. Did 134.35 thousand impressions. Live was not enabled on it, so there is no metrics. 482 clicks, CTR, CPM, the same data that you saw earlier. And then there's the ad quality metrics. It said out of this, 330 were pub fraud. It's very important to take a little note here. Pub fraud essentially is when someone says, I'm going to display your ad on CNN, but when you actually try and display an ad, it happens on xyz.com. So we have an internal technology to prevent cases like that. And we do tell you in the metrics that these are the number of cases that were stopped when that happened. Same thing with a lot of publishers fire duplicate pixels and duplicate impressions. We weed that out. And some of the publishers cache the ad for more than 15-20 minutes and displayed the ad after that. We count them as expired, especially because this is a location-based campaign and you're heavily focused on someone being in that location. So you don't want to show them an ad 20 minutes after they have moved out of that location. Let's move further down the line. These are all the data points that are available to you to understand how the AI works behind the scenes, and also for you to do your own manual optimizations and override the internal systems. The first question that I go ask anyone is, great, you have served 134,000 impressions. Where? So you're going to either bundle ID or inventory name and click on it to understand where those impressions are going. So it tells me, hey, this is where I did all your impressions, and these are the number of impressions done per application. You can expand further into it to understand further details around how many bids, how many ignores, the gross that you're spending, impressions, CTR, CPM. You can even go into column visibility and check how much pub fraud was there, what was the number of clicks, conversions, completes in case there were any. So as you see, the system is smart enough. There's not a lot of fraud on the applications that the impressions are being run on. but the fraud that was prevented was happening mostly on these two applications, and that's why there are hardly any impressions that were even attempted after that. Um, in case you say, you know what, great, I love this application, but my CTR is really, really not good here. And I understand that the system is looking at it overall, but I would like to block it. You can just click this, hit blacklist, and it gives you an option for the campaign that you just created. It's pre-selected. So like on this campaign, on either all my banners or few of my banners, either append this as a blacklist or override it as a existing list. Now you already saw that there was a blacklist established, so I would append to existing targeting to remove this application from getting any more ads in the future. Similar to bundle ID, you have other factors that govern the creation of a campaign. You can look at what ad sizes are behaving better for my campaign, what creative is actually doing better, um, age of the person, hourly data, what operating system are they on. Looks like they are mostly on Android, some on iOS. What is the profile of the inventory that they are being usually seen on. So most of the people that have been interested in campaigns are also interested in video and computer games. They have hobbies and interests. They're interested in society, role-playing games, and whatnot. What is the kind of device we're targeting them on? It's mostly phones, some tablets, hardly any personal computers. Um, where is the location being derived from? Is it an application or is it mobile web? So it looks like it's mostly applications and a little bit of mobile web environment. You can do filtration here as well. You're like, okay, I only want to look at what happened on the mobile web land. So you click this, it establishes a system-wide filter to talk about mobile web, and then you can again go into bundle IDs to understand where exactly are these ads being displayed. Every single list is exportable as a CSV, Excel, PDF, or print right from this menu, and is also exportable as a graph from up above in case you want to showcase your client how it has been working. By default, it chooses hourly data, but you can switch to daily data in case you wanted a more smoother graph out of it. Um, and the list goes on and on and on. So this basically allows you to not only understand what's going on behind the scenes, but also to use optimization technology to override the internal AI. Now, as you saw, this campaign was targeted towards a single country, which was the United States of America, and it had zip codes associated with it where you were able to see region ID reporting. But let's get more reporting out of it, right? You also need to understand what's going on within those particular polygons or radiuses and lat longs that the user has created. So from this particular menu, you go into something that we call the wrap-up report. The wrap-up report goes into detailed information around, great, I targeted your campaign. These are the postal codes that it's running in. This is clicks per postal code and CTR per postal codes for you to understand if there is anything that's better than something else. City-wise data. It's running in Hartford, Manchester, New Britain, East Hartford, and stuff like that, and gives you an idea about your demographics. State is obviously mostly Connecticut, some New York, some Massachusetts, based on the lat longs and radiuses that were defined. We saw earlier in this that people were using iOS, people were using Android, which is great, but I want to know what exact device were they using. So for people who were using Apple, they were using obviously Apple. Then you had Samsung, LG, Motorola, generic devices, ZTE, Alcatel, Asus. You can dig into the model as well. Of course, for iPhones, it's going to be an iPhone and an iPad. For Samsung, you have all these details. Once again, every single data point is exportable as an Excel file and is also available to be exported as a graph. You can also look at what carrier are they on. Are they on Comcast? Are they on Frontier? Are they on Verizon? What do they use in order to get access to the internet? What applications are the most prevalent on these users and where you're reaching them, sort of a situation. And because this is the US, you can also get DMA information. So mostly things are focused towards the Hartford and New Haven, Connecticut DMA, but there are some impressions in other locations based on the geological targeting that has been enabled. Um, and this is pretty much when it comes to reporting and stuff like that. You also have a regular report section where you can set up automated reports. You can extract reports very granularly. 4013 as an example. If I wanted to extract this report for 4013. I will just choose this. I will choose the date range. Let's just choose this month for the sake of example and hit apply. And in this case, this starts with giving you an overall report. It says for this account ID, the impressions were this much, clicks were this much, CTR was this much. And then you're like, okay, great. I want to separate this by date. I want to separate it by every creative that's under there. I want to also separate it by every campaign that's under there. And you hit apply and it does all these calculations and gives you a broken down report per campaign, per creative, per day for you to understand how things are moving along. Very important for your advertiser to also understand where this data is coming from and the granularity of data that you get access to. So as you can see here, I have date, account, account ID, campaign, campaign ID, banner, banner ID, and then I go into column visibility and I say, you know what, I don't want to look at account, account ID, campaign ID, or banner ID. I want to look at date, I want to look at impressions, I want to look at clicks, I want to look at CTR, and I want to look at how much money I spent. If it's a video campaign, you can look at load data, start data, quartile information, how many people closed the video and whatnot. But here it is, data in 15 different pages. You can click export out as Excel, and it will essentially open up an Excel file for you that shows you all this data in a CSV format, which is pretty fascinating to essentially look at. And this is what it is, all the impression data, click data, gross data in one single file, broken out by all the details that you essentially wanted. That's pretty much it from me as far as the advertiser platform goes. Please feel free to reach out back to us at Advangelists. Our website is www.advangelists.com, and you can reach out to our customer success team at CS, which is customer success, at advangelists.com. Once again, it's CS at advangelists.com. My name is Deep. I am the founder and CEO. And if you have any comments about that video, please feel free to write me a note at Deep, DEEP, at advangelists.com. Thank you so much for the time you took today, and we look forward to working with you.